My name is Temitayo.
My name is Temilola.
My name is Irebide, and this is your brother,
Irekito. Welcome everyone. Today we're going to be answering some of the common questions that people have asked us across our social media platforms on, the logistics while we were moving from Nigeria to Portugal, and also our experience, flying while pregnant. My wife was 7 months pregnant when we flew. And we also talk about the visa and relocation process, and also life in Portugal generally. So stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. To start with, the printer. So we brought our printer along. We just got it a few months to when our visa arrived and when we finally relocated. And we are couples that value our possession. So, and we also believe in maximizing the worth of whatever it is that we bought. So, since we just bought it, we felt, okay, let's take it along. I think, yeah, we shouldn't have taken it along because the ink spilled, the ink in the printer spilled. I didn't clean it thoroughly before plugging it into power, and then some of the power components got burnt. So right now the printer is useless.
I brought along the kids' toys, which I felt getting here. I felt maybe we could have left them at home. When I was packing, the kid in me felt like, okay, if I was a kid, I would have loved that my precious toy moved along with us. So that's why I packed it. But now buying toys here is very cheap, so I could have left it at home instead of adding that to the bags when we were coming. So yeah. Uh Aside the turning stick, we also brought in some spices, some food stuff. I brought in some dried pepper. I brought in banga spice. I brought in egusi, dried egusi. So those are some of the things you can find in African markets. But buying Nigerian stuff here is like buying imported goods in Nigeria. It's pricey and expensive. Those are some of the things we brought in, and they served us for a few days when we moved in. And so yeah, I'm glad we brought some of those things.
One of them is our Google Mini. I mean, initially they were just in the room, in the bags, and then my wife was able to find a good use for them, So, yeah, so right now they, act as lullaby. So we use it for lullaby for Iwe and even the senior brother as well. So, yeah. Another thing we brought along, which we found helpful, is our jacket. We know Portugal is cold, but you know, if you are not there, if you haven't experienced it, you won't be able to understand how cold it is. Yeah, we think that was very helpful because right at the airport, we were able to wear our jacket, we felt warm, and yeah, we didn't freeze.
Yeah. And we got our jackets from Idumota actually. Only that we didn't find for our young man. So when my husband came, he was able to purchase for the young man. So when we were coming all together, we brought in all our jackets.
If you didn't know, I came to Portugal first to set the way, just as John the Baptist came before Jesus to set the way. And interestingly, they are anyway. We'll get there later in the video. So their visa arrived, I think 2 weeks after I had already made plans of coming. But we'll talk about that later. Airport check-in. So I think the first rule of thumb is always arrive early to any appointment you have, in case of emergencies or unplanned things, in case they want to happen, or village people want to, want to do visitation. And a case in point, so on the day of our travel, when I was trying to finalize the sale of our car, if you're very familiar with the airport road, that Mafoluku inward or even outward the airport. So I was trying to, there's a bridge, that you take um when you're going towards Oshodi, there's a bridge that you can take to turn to the other side, inward the airport, right? So I was trying to take that bridge. So I didn't know you cannot turn from the fast lane. You can't negotiate from the fast lane, you know, and then exit and take that bridge. So I didn't know there was no sign, right? And unfortunately for me, um, the officers, there were some police officers at the other side of the road, right? So I exited from the fast lane, took the bridge, and then when I got to the other side, the officers, they were very nice. They were like, "Oh, how are you doing?" Things like that. So I thought it was normal routine check, and my papers are complete. I don't give bribes. They know me. I don't give bribes, right? So I was with serious face, with stern face, like, eventually you're going to check and then you're going to let me go. So they were like, okay, can we see your driver license? I give them driver license. They were doing the routine check, and I think maybe they were looking at the car or something like that. And then, the officer was like, so do you know you're not supposed to exit the way you took the bridge, things like that. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know. And then they were like, you have to follow us to the office. And I'm like, follow you to office, bow. Anyway, long story short, they entered the car, because I knew we still had enough time, right? Because around that period, it was around 3, 4 p.m. Our flight was 11:50 p.m., right? So I know we had enough time, and we've already done online check-in. I'm going to get to that very soon. Initially, I was like, oh, we can settle this, you can. I was even trying to, like, compassion. This is my first time. I didn't know I'm not supposed to exit. I was asking for compassion, basically. They weren't having it. So we got to their office, and then the next thing, they were like, turn off the engine, give me the car key. I'm like, kilo shele. What's going on here? How did we get here? So anyway, their guy came, she was a woman. I started pleading, I was like, oh, I didn't know it's my first time. I even told them that my wife was at the hospital. I showed her pictures so that it wouldn't just be like I'm fabricated. And true, my wife was pregnant, but she wasn't at the hospital. She was waiting for us at the airport, right? So I was like, madam, please, my brother-in-law was with me, he was also pleading, things like that. But they were not having it to. At the end of the day, how would they say it? Something exchange.
Sorry for the break in transmission. We had to put the little guy to sleep. It's nap time already. Like my husband has said, going to the airport on time is really something that you need to take into consideration. And when you get to the airport, you might feel like, oh, okay, I'll just go and sit down there for a long time. I mean, there are lounges that you could stay, and they're very cheap. One we stayed, as at the time we stayed, was about 4K for as long as you want, not billed per hour. Because I remember we stayed there for, I can't remember how many hours, but we didn't have to pay any extra. So, and for children, it's free while you wait for your flight time.
Yeah, then I think another thing is, if when you're traveling and you have luggages, just make sure to put a buffer on the weight you measure at home, right? Because with our scale, we got 23 kg, some 22, some even 18 or 19 kg. So the weight with the there were variations to the weights that we got at home, right? But by the time we got to the airport, they were measuring 32, 30. like it was way higher than what we measured, and we had to pay extra for that. So number one, had maybe a minus 5 kg to, sorry, a plus 5 kg to whatever you measure at home, and also take extra cash, right? Because at the airports, I think we did, no, you had the option of paying either in dollar or naira, right? Yeah, you had the option of doing either, but if you're going to pay in dollar, it's stressful, right? Because they have to generate a link, you have to go to customer service, they have to generate a link, then you have to pay. And I think they only accept MasterCard. That's another thing. Their payment platform only accepts MasterCard. So yeah, and there can be a lot of people at the customer service, right? So you have to make sure you prepare, hold extra cash at hand, and then add 3 or 5 kg extra to
And
whatever
extra
it is.
bags.
Yeah, then extra bags as well,
Yes, we got
because
extra bags.
we had to buy some. Now, don't crucify me on this. I know there's an English word for it, but we'll still call it Ghana Moscow because that's what everybody knows, right? We had to buy some extra Ghana Moscow bag. I mean, it was a bittersweet moment,
Yes.
because that was my first car actually, and I rode it for like 3 years. It didn't give me any stress. I got it from I don't know whether I should mention their name. But anyway, I got it from AutoCheck. I got the car from AutoCheck, and they were able to help with the vetting, the documentation, all those things. So it was a very bittersweet moment, selling off that car. So in terms of tips for selling, because we got it from AutoCheck, right? So it was easier to contact them and tell them that, hey, I want to sell off this car. I bought it from your hand, so I'm selling it back to you. Right. So it was easier to do that. And they were able to get me buyer. When I called the representative, right? The following day, he had started disturbing me with calls and messages that, okay, I don't see buyer. And I'm like, between when and when, are you sure? So yeah, so it was very easy. I think I was even the one who stored the sale of the car because we needed to use it, to pack, to pack the bags, to the last moment until we get to the airport. So I was the one who stored, because of those reasons. Yeah. It was hot cake, and people wanted to like drive that car. So I think that also assisted in, selling it off almost immediately.
Yeah. Most of our items we didn't sell aside from the car, which is like the major assets that we sold. We initially wanted to ship. We had the plan of shipping, but when we got here, in fact, we packed some of the things we wanted to ship already. We just wanted to get here and have an address where we can ship to and all of that. But when we got here, we are buying those things new. Here is relatively cheap instead of the stress, the time, and all of that we need to take into consideration when we
God
are
forbid
shipping.
the ship will the ship will capsize or something, and containers will be. Sorry, if you don't understand Yoruba, it means container
Enter the water.
has entered the water.
Capsized.
That's a loose translation of it.
So instead of shipping, we decided to get some of those things new. Yeah. Okay, so we wrapped all our bags like we mentioned in our moving video. If you've not watched the video, we suggest that you go and watch it.
We're going to put the link here or here.
Yeah.
Just find it. It's going to be somewhere.
We wrapped all our bags, but when we got to the airport, the custom officers told us that we can't wrap our bags because the wrapping will not allow them to see what's the content of the bag while it's going through their scan. So we had to unwrap some of those bags, and we were told that, okay, to reduce the stress, because I'm pregnant, my husband is the only one going up and down, and my brother who has come to assist us, so we can just unwrap the top and the bottom, but that was just a favor for us. So, but we were told that we should unwrap most of them. So I think the reason why, like they said, because of their scan. So I think if you want to wrap, they have what they use to wrap at the airports after you check in. So maybe, like my husband said, hold some cash, hold as much cash as you can, so that you can use those services. Because we also found out that our bag got turned. So
Yeah, so it doesn't even stop, right?
yeah.
Because the reason why we had to wrap was to prevent theft, right? To prevent someone from opening the bag or even tearing it. But it didn't stop whoever did that, to cut through the bag, which I find very absurd, right? We didn't lose anything as far as we know. And we didn't have any valuable in that pocket that they pawned. But yeah, if you're watching this video, it's not good. And don't do it again.
That's what we'll suggest. If you want to wrap, suggest using the service at the airport to wrap.
I don't know, because everything is still the same wrapping thing, right?
Yeah.
And it will still go through the same security process, but it is what it is. Of course, we've mentioned one of them, which was the extra luggages we have to pay for. I mean, it was not expected, right? And I could remember I was contemplating. So we even had to reshuffle,
Yes, we
right?
shuffle. Yes.
Pelumi, who is my brother-in-law, he had to take
Some
some items that we removed. They had to take them back home, right? So we didn't even expect that. And also I think if you are going to drive, I bought full tank because I was thinking, okay, we might forget something back home and then we need to go, and we don't want to be branching for station to get from. The new owner or the new buyer of my car now, they had full tank, and I was like, you guys don't know what I just did for you. But anyway, so you also need to factor in transportation. If you're not driving, you need to,
rentals.
yeah, you need to probably rent a van or a car that would, be able to take you from the airport down from the hotel down to the airport. And another thing was we lodged in an hotel, which was not far from the airport, right? So, and the reason why we had to do that is where we live is quite far. It's about 1 hour drive to the airport. We lodged at the hotel, like a staging area where we can put our luggages and then pass the night there, and then the following day we can move from there, as opposed to
Driving.
coming from home to the airport, which would be very, very stressful.
We were pregnant.
But she carried most of it.
While moving. Before then, the research I made was, okay, seats along the aisle where you can easily go to the restroom if you need to, take a walk around the plane for long flights if you need to. But I wasn't really pressed during the flight, so I didn't have to move around often. So, but the only thing I did personally was to take deep breaths while the plane was landing and doing takeoff. Takeoff was easy for me, but the landing, there was a lot of air pressure, and it was just breathing exercises that I did. And yeah, it was helpful for me. And the air hostesses also, they were very nice when the pressure got so much, it got so bad that I was having headache, I was having Braxton aches. I would just suggest that if you are pregnant and it's not really protruding for somebody to see, maybe you should inform an air hostess on board so that they can be aware if you need an emergency or whatever attention during the flight, because they helped me with heated towels for my ears and a cold towel for my forehead during the flight when pressure got so bad and I couldn't manage myself.
They also had emergency bed actually. They also have that at the back of the plane. They brought her in France when we were waiting to board from France to Portugal. And initially I was like, okay, maybe there was someone else. So it did occur to me that they made preparation for it for us. But later on I was like, oh, okay. From Lagos to France was smooth, right? So there was no complaints or anything. I think that's quick thinking from them.
Okay, yes, we did. We took all the scan results that we had for the baby. In Nigeria, we wanted to access our record, like come in with our medical record, but we were told you can't take it along. When you get to your destination, if it's needed, you could request for it and it will be sent directly to the hospital. When we got here, it was a different story entirely. They said we have to come with the record physically by ourselves, that they can't request for it. We went to the private hospital and yes, it was easy finding a doctor, but we had to wait for about 2 weeks before we had an appointment with a gynecologist. Yeah, and they had to do some scan and all of that. So it's a very long story actually. The birth delivery process, all of it in another video. So make sure you subscribe and turn on your notification bell so that you can see that video on the process of delivering our baby when it drops. For the noise reduction headset, we got that at Idumota. In preparing for the baby, if the visa is not coming, the baby will definitely come.
And that one is guaranteed. So
So we went to Idumota and we tried to get some baby things. We found the noise reduction headset and decided to get it. It was not expensive. It was like 2.5 or 3.5. I can't remember how much exactly. We got it just as, okay, if we need to fly, it will be needed. If not, be when the baby comes, maybe when we are going to church or whatever, the noise and all of that, it will be needed. So it's not like a waste of money. So let's just get it. So we got it. Our 4-year-old, he handled it very well. The airplane had screens that kept him busy before he slept because our flight was in the night, so he slept all through. And in the morning, while we were moving, my husband kept him busy. They had some lengthy discussion about everything.
do you also want to tell everyone your experience flying from Lagos to Portugal? I'm going to ask you some questions, right? And then you're going to respond to that. What did you enjoy most about, flying?
Sometimes we watch cartoon when us is flying.
When we are flying, you watch cartoon and you enjoyed it.
Yes.
The air hostesses, the people that turn into mama, were they very helpful?
Yes.
They were very helpful. Did you enjoy, sitting in the front of the plane where the pilots, where they sat? Did you enjoy that?
Yes.
You enjoyed that?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Moving on. So when you say the best way, I think that would depend on the visa category, the one you're applying for. Because I remember during the initial phase, there was no appointment for our visa category. We had to petition the embassy in Abuja, and then they were the one who gave us like written appointment, right? So we took that to VFS Lagos and we allowed him to submit our document. But I also observed that while we were there was a lot of queue for students visas, right? So there was appointment for that at that time. And another thing is I would encourage, if you're coming, I would encourage that you come with your family. Portugal has what they call the family reunification pathway or visa, right? But there is no appointment for that. As I last time I was informed, there is no appointment. There has been no appointment for family reunification visa. And
There's a
you
wait
don't want
time.
to come, and your wife or your family will still be in Nigeria or in your home country for a year, 2 years, 3 years, right? And I think that's one good thing I did, because I insisted that my family has to come with me. And even as at that time, I didn't know that there could be delays in getting the family reunification visa. So make sure you apply with your family.
So there are a lot of visa categories. We would advise that you do your research, look for what suits you, circumstances, whether you're coming as a student, for work.
Yeah, and this is just going to be based on, right? And we kind of know some of the things that are happening, in terms of immigration policies, things like that. We are not visa agents, we are not relocation agents or experts. Okay, so if we're going to be telling you anything, it's probably based on what we've gone through.
Yes.
It used to
Job
be,
seeker visa.
yeah, there used to be a pathway for that, but I think that has been disbanded or it's discontinued. So before you can come in under the, you can come in with your visitor visa, and then convert eventually if you get a job. But now they have the job seeker visa category. So if you want to come in and look for a job, you apply for the job seeker visa, and then that would grant you the right to come into Portugal and look for a job and maybe convert to a work visa eventually. And another thing is you could also use AI. If you have any questions, you can use AI, and AI these days are very smart. In fact, even some informations that we might not be privy of, or a human might not know, AI can search the web for you, piece different information together, and then give you something that is tailored to you. And for example, as we mentioned, there are different visa categories. Your circumstances might be different,
Yes.
So if you put it in an AI chatbot and say, okay, this is my profile, I'm this person, I'm this age, I'm looking at relocating to Portugal, and I don't know maybe what visa category to go for, or can you recommend a visa category, or what are the requirements that are needed? The AI agent or chatbot can actually piece all of those informations to you, tailored to you. It can even do a better job than if you go through an agent, for example. And one thing about Portugal is it's a very bureaucratic country. And while that might have its cons, it also has its pros. And the pros is that if you go to their website and they tell you these are the documents that are needed, these are the requirements. If you submit those requirements, you will get your visa.
Can't exclude a particular requirement and expect to get.
Exactly. So just make sure you submit the documents that are required. If they're asking for your document to be legalized, things like that, make sure you do those things.
Yeah.
Okay, don't skip anyone. If you're using Gemini, you can say, hey Gemini, can you do a checklist of the requirements for applying for maybe a student visa, a work visa in Portugal, right? And then you can tick those checklists off, those items, you can tick them off as you gather them. So that can be very helpful.
Okay, just in case you are new to AI, we have a playlist on our channel to help you get started as well.
So, as I mentioned earlier, Portugal is a bureaucratic country. If for your proof of funds, under the category that we came in, I was asked to submit 3 months pay slip. So if you are asked for proof of fund, depending on your visa category, it might change, it might be different. Again, that's why you need to consult with you can use an AI agent, to do that. Or you go to the Portugal embassy's website, you would have your information there. So for proof of funds, if you are asked to submit your last payslip or to show your bank statement, maybe you have a times three of the minimum wage, please do that.
Yeah.
Okay. Again, it's very bureaucratic. Um, you can't if they ask if they give you that requirement and then you're submitting last 2 months or you're submitting less than what they asked for, your visa will be rejected. Regarding cost of living, I think for a family, rents, depending on where you are in Portugal, right? That will determine how much you have to pay. And rent
It's the
is
highest.
expensive,
Yeah.
right? Where we are, and you're looking at rent from 1,000 to 1,005, 1,008 euros. So yeah, they use T1, T2, T3, which is T1 is 1 bedroom, T2 is 2 bedroom, T3 is 3 bedrooms. If you're going up north, if you are or even if you're going out of Lisbon, right, it can be cheaper
Cheaper, yeah.
for rent, for the rent, right? It can be cheaper. Then food is very affordable. Food is very affordable. Depending on your family size, we're spending about 150, 200, 250 in groceries every month, right? And when I say within that range, you buy a lot of things.
Yeah.
Okay, you buy a lot of things. So it's not like you're just buying one or two items. You buy a lot of things, and that can last you for a month
month.
or more.
Depends on your lifestyle basically. If you eat out, if you can't cook, if you party, if you take drinks. I mean, depends basically.
And you also need to take tax into consideration. Whatever you buy, you pay VAT, you pay tax on it. It's about 23%. On your rent, you're paying tax, right? So you need to take that into consideration. It's very, very important. And your earnings too. If you get an offer and you're like, oh, this offer is juicy, look at the tax. How much tax are you going to pay on that offer, right? So that's another thing you need to take into consideration.
The tax is progressive in nature, so
Again, I would advise the whole family move
together.
together because it's not easy getting the family reunification visa. Okay. And circumstances might differ again, right? So let's say you are coming in as a student, you've gotten your application approved, like the school has approved, things like that. You might be tempted to do that, but you also need to put that into consideration that when you come, it might take 2 years, 3 years, 4 years before your family can join you. Okay. Or you have to be going and then coming, things like that. You have to put that into consideration. I mean, I would advise that. That's my own personal opinion.
Yeah.
Okay. But circumstances differ. If you want, you can come in yourself, you know. But again, just have in mind, I don't know why I keep stressing this, but just have in mind that it might take you 2, 3, 4 years before you see your family. And interestingly, I met a former colleague. Yeah, we met at African market where we buy our African spices, and he was telling me that, and I think that day he was actually traveling. He was, moving to Spain. He was relocating to Spain. So he was telling me that for like 5 years that he has been here, he didn't come in as a student. He came in to work, right? So he was on the work visa. And for 5 years, he has been unable to get an appointment for family reunification to get his wife to join him. So he has to change course, and then move to Spain so that I think Spain has better visa program, for things like that. So he had to move to Spain, and imagine that's someone that has been here for 5 years under the work visa. He could not get an appointment for his family. So again, you see why I keep stressing it. Yeah. We would say if you want to reach out to us, we'll be happy to answer your questions. But again, we are not agents. We are not consultant. We we cannot help you package your application. We don't offer those services.
Yes.
But what we can do is, okay, for example, it took about 6 months to get our visa. So maybe after you've applied and it's taking 3 months, 4 months, we can assure you and tell you, okay, it took 6 months for us, right? It took 6 months for us. So calm down, okay? Oh my god, I've forgotten. There's this TikTok sound. Maybe we'll put it on the video. Manage. Yeah. So it will do you like you are tired or something, but don't stress, okay? So we can offer those support, emotional support. So those are what we can do. But again, I would say that if you need consultations, right, there are resources online. Portugal is a bureaucratic country.
Yeah.
If you have a list and they are telling you these are what we want, just provide those things.
As asked.
Exactly, as asked. If they tell you legalize, do this, do that, just do it, and you will get your visa. And yes, getting those requirements can be very difficult sometimes. Okay, it's not going to be easy, and I think that is also why it is worth it. Again, we don't offer. We are not agents.
Growing family, and we share our experience on all
Exactly.
our social media.
And we can provide
platforms.
emotional support if you want.
Yeah.
They will show you shaggy, but you will not let it get to you.
Basically did most of the paperwork by ourselves, and we submitted it. We started from VFS office. We need to legalize, we need to do authentication at Abuja. We needed birth certificates, national population birth certificates for our son. We went to Surulere.
And you also need the CTC of your marriage certificates.
Yes,
as well.
marriage certificates as well. So those are some of the documents that we submitted while processing, along with other documents that are required. It was easy getting the ones in Lagos, but Abuja, it wasn't easy getting those documents. Yeah, we had to send someone. So shout out to Light Pizza. Yeah, Light Pizza, the CEO of Light Pizza, who helped us to Abuja to get some of those documents done. It's not an agency. We had to like find somebody inside to do those running around for us. We mentioned using AI to find some of sources. Also go to EMA and the embassy, the Portugal embassy website to get recent information about your visa category and the documents you need. Yeah, so that you won't be misled by I said, she said, they said, as well as VFS official website.
There is also a Reddit subreddit that you can join, Portugal Expats. You can find it on Reddit if you use Reddit. There are a lot of resources there. You can also have insights even before you finally come. You can have insights into some of the conversations that are going in, like the policy, like AMA. You'll find those conversations. You can also ask questions there, right? And because it's an open forum, you get to see a lot of people. You would see people who can help you for free, who can point you to resources, to information, for free without paying any dime. Again, all of these informations are online. Another thing is when you're using Gemini, when you're using ChatGPT, whatever AI tool you are using, you can also tell it, okay, can you give me the link to these resources? And then you can go to those websites, those links
to verify
to
yourself.
verify and even read more about them. The whole process took, I think, 8 months actually, because we started the application process around June. May, June.
But we started sourcing for documents before then.
Yeah, marriage certificate. We went to Ikoyi marriage registry, tried to get someone who can help us with the CTC, then the NPC as well, the population. We had to go to Surulere, so that's another thing. you have to go to the headquarter. If you go to the one in your local
Locality.
government, yeah, I don't think they can provide you that document. So we had to go to NPC office in Surulere to gather those documents. And then, once you get that, you have to send it to Abuja to legalize. Or then your police character, the criminal character certificate as well. We went to Alagbon. And from what I've just said, you would observe that I said we went to those offices.
Yes.
Right? We didn't go online to look for someone that can help us. No, we went to Surulere, to the NPC office in Surulere. We talked to an officer there, and that person was the one who helped us with the process. We went to Ikoyi, marriage certificate. We got someone there. We went to Alagbon we got someone there. So we did not go online. And that was why I was like, all this information, you can do them yourself. You can do all these things yourself, right? We did not call someone from the internet and say, hey, help us, do that. And I understand that situations might be different. It can also be difficult for you to go to these offices, to source for those information, and that's why you can also look for someone trusted, maybe your family relation or someone you can help, or someone who can help you to go to these places if you cannot be there physically. But again, they are very easy to do. So the first process is the foreign affairs, which is authentication. And is it authentication or legalization? I do mix them. I think foreign affairs is legalization. Yeah, and then we took it to the embassy
Portugal
for
embassy.
authentication. Okay, and then once we got the document back, we went to VFS and we submitted those documents. And interestingly, at VFS, it was very smooth because we have all our documents. The only thing was we had the form, the application form. We had an application form that we used, but when we got there, they asked us to use their own application form. So, and that was the only thing. And it was just like you're copying and pasting, you're writing what you've already written. So, and our printer helped. That was why we had to buy a printer, because even at the hotel, so we had to lodge at an hotel in Lekki, very close to the VFS office, right? Even at the hotel, we were still printing. We carry our printer along, we were still printing. So yeah.
All the documents were pretty easy to get. The only thing was authentication and legalization in Abuja, because we couldn't go there physically by ourselves, and that took a bit of back and forth to get. Then the waiting time for all of these documents
And
completed.
a tip I can give is that when you go to these places, you can ask them, if they can help you with the authentication and legalization. And the reason is because when you go to marriage registry, for example, to your marriage registry, right, there is a 90% probability or even 100% probability that, someone there offers that service, right? Because people are traveling out, right? A lot of people are immigrating, right? So there's a probability that someone there might know someone or they themselves might offer that service, right? For authenticating and legalizing your document in Abuja. So you can ask as well, right? If they don't offer, they might be able to point you to someone else. And you can do the same thing at NPC, you can do the same thing at Alagbon, right? And because you are going to an office, right, you can also be rest assured that
The officer in charge.
yeah, the officer in charge would stand by you. And this is not me vouching for anybody, okay? I'm just saying there will be that sense of responsibility that they will not want to scam you. Okay. Okay, so the first one, let me start with, do you need to translate all your documents? No, you do not need to translate your documents. We did not translate any of our documents.
Yeah.
All the documents we provided were in English.
English.
The only thing was we made sure that they are legalized, they're authenticated before we submitted them. Do you need to speak Portuguese to get your visa? No. At VFS, you're not going to see a consular officer there, right?
Yeah.
VFS is like a staging area where they collect your documents and they send it to the embassy in Abuja. So what you're doing at VFS office is just document submission. That's what you're going there to do. Unlike the US, if you've applied for a US visa, you have to go to a cubicle, you have to talk to an officer, they interview you. You don't need to do that. That's what I'm trying to explain. You don't need to speak Portuguese to get your visa. You don't need to translate your documents to Portuguese to get your visa.
Getting our son into school wasn't really stressful. The only thing was most times there's no opening in public schools, and so you won't be able to join in the section. So you have to like wait till September when a new section is going to resume, and that's what happened. So when we came in, it was in September, so we had to wait until September. Even though we had opening at some point, we missed it, and so we had to wait. We also have a video process the first day and how he's been doing in school. That's it.
And also for the application process, it's like JAM, if you've written JAM before. So you can't just take your child to a school and say,
I want to
go and start school, right? Of course, you can do that in private establishment, but for a public school, for government schools, you have to apply through a portal.
Yes.
And one of the things they look out for is how close the school is to where you live. Okay. And I think, yeah, the reason why they do that is so that your child does not go to a school that is far from where he lives.
Yeah.
So there's always priority for um schools that are closer to you. And also, if when you're looking for an apartment, you also have to take that into consideration. Oh well. So regarding self-care, my wife has, she has taken up that
Self-care
that
manager.
mantle. So she's our our self-care manager. She's one that barbs my hair, my son's hair. So she had to learn through YouTube. We have some videos. There was also a live we did where she
Yeah.
was barbing my hair. You can see it. For me, I would say start early. That would be my number one advice.
Yeah.
Start early. If you want to come in 2027, for example, start applying now. Get your documents now. Start doing that research now. Because by 2027, there might not be an appointment.
Yeah.
By 2027, policies might have changed. And that's another thing we found out here. Policies change like every day.
Tip of your finger.
Even the citizens are not able to keep up with the policy. I'll give an example. We were to apply for something. Here, they have a service that allows you to log in into multiple government websites, right? If you've used Google Authentication, something like that, it's something like that, right? So we wanted to access our tax portal. So before then, there was an agency we were talking to, like, can you help us with these things like that? And they were like, non-citizens cannot apply for that service, right? It's only available for citizens. Then I just went to the citizen shop and I'm like, I want to log into my tax portal, and they're asking for the CMD key. And then they were like, give us your passport, this. And I applied. They gave me, right? So I had to talk to the agency and I'm like, this is what you said I cannot apply for, right? And the guy was like, okay, maybe there is a new change in policy, things like that. So even the citizens themselves, they're unable to keep up on a lot of things that are changing. So that's my advice. If you want to come, start early.
Yeah.
Don't wait till a month, some weeks, to when you want to come before you apply. Policies may change. Even if you're using AI to do your research, always put 2026 in
Current date,
in your
your
prompt,
current year.
or even the month or the current date, right?
Yeah.
You tell it. I mean, some of these AI chatbots, they are very smart. They can deduce that. But when you put it in yourself, you're also telling it that it should look for up to date or the most recent information so that it will not go and be looking for 2025 information for you. 2025, things have changed between 2025 and now.
My own tip would be start learning the language as well. The language is what is widely spoken here. Even though some people understand English, most places, those that understand English is just a little bit of English they understand. So Portuguese is what is being spoken here. So start learning at least from free apps that you can find, little bits from YouTube videos, start learning little bits. That by the time you finally get here, I mean, you have some basic knowledge of some of those things, seeing how to express yourself in Portuguese, aside from describing what you want.
And you can also reach out to us. The little ones we've learned that we are unable to use outside, we'll teach you. Okay. We'll teach you.
And we can learn it. We can also learn more in the process of teaching you.
Exactly. So yeah, I think that would be fun. So just reach out to us. And then when you now go outside and you are telling them, you're just like, what's this one saying? But anyway, it's a beautiful language. If you want to integrate properly, you need to learn the language. There is no way you can miss that because everywhere you go, especially government establishments,
Yes.
they speak Portuguese. They will tell you that you are in Portugal, you speak Portuguese. Chamase, chamomi, cinco, dois.
I mean, numbers. I think numbers is one of the things
Those are the things we teach
that
you.
is most important that you should learn. I mean, numbers, because wherever you go to, government parastata, anywhere you go to, you basically use numbers. So
Yeah.
I think
Don't worry, come to us. We'll teach you that one. We can teach you that one.
I think we've come to the end of today's video. Thank you so much.
If you've stayed this far, thank you. And I'm very sure you would have seen the progression. We started as 4 people, and then midway it turned to 3, and then midway it turned to just the 2 of us. Thank you so much for staying to watch this video up until this time.
Yeah.
We appreciate them.
Thank you.
We see your comments. It means a lot to us.
Yeah.
Please share the video. There might be someone who might need some of this information.
Yeah.
And if you think there are some questions we were unable to answer or we didn't touch on, feel free to leave a comment or reach out to us, and then we're going to answer them. So thank you very much, and don't forget to subscribe. If you are just watching us for the first time, don't forget to subscribe. This summer we have some things planned, and we don't want you to miss them.
Yes.
So subscribe, turn on the notification bell so you can get informed. We released a song to celebrate our 5th anniversary. If you haven't seen it, it's on our page, on our YouTube page.
Yes.
You can also go to temi.live, Temi, Temi .life, and then you're going to see the link to all the streaming platforms that our songs are in, right? And you can also search The Wealth in My Joy by Temitayo and Temilola. You'll see us there. Stream it. Let us know what you think. We'll be happy to hear your thoughts, your feedback on it. And yeah, till we see you some other time.
Ciao.
Ciao, ciao.